Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had such a great time this last weekend in Danville, Kentucky. We had great crowds. People were so hungry for the Word and hungry for the coming of the Lord. It's amazing. I know I say that every week, but it's so wonderful to see churches with people getting it that we're so close to the coming of the King. If you're anywhere near Dayton, Ohio this weekend, we'll be at Dayton Living Word Sunday morning. We'll have a great time. We'll actually be getting into, it's on their monthly movie series, so we'll get into Mission Impossible. The impossible mission of Jesus coming and giving his life, and God raised him from the dead. So we'll have a great time. So we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, specifically, the signs of the second coming, and specifically the nations that gather just after the rapture for the Ezekiel 38 war, because you literally see them taking their places right now. And when Jesus said, when you see these things come to pass, lift up your heads, your redemption is drawing nigh. So the whole purpose of this is to not be downtrodden, to be happy, to be hopeful. When you see all this, the signs aren't to scare people. They're to show you how close you are to your departure. Jesus is just about to come. I mean, it's amazing to see the exact things happening that we would say would happen. I mean, you can get your checklist out. And it's like, wow, one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. So the purpose is not an escape theology. The purpose is a hustle theology. We see the finish line, we run faster. So remember, when Jesus came into town, the demons cried out, "Have you come to torment us before the time?" So they knew Jesus had a schedule. He was just early. So if demons can know the schedule, how much more the church? And I hear people go, well, you can't tell when the Lord's coming back. Actually, you can when you look at all the verses he put in the Bible about the coming of the Lord. Think about it. Paul talked about the baptism 12 times, coming of the Lord 52 times. For every one verse there is about the first coming of the Lord, there's 8 times more about the second coming. So it's so documented so we'd have a heads up. Let's pick up what's happened around the land of Israel. Man, so many things are happening. There were 200 terrorist attacks this last month in September. I don't get into all the things that keep happening in Israel like that, but you had some clashes breaking out on the Temple Mount. You got even Netanyahu saying he's going to build more in the West Bank. There's all these threats coming this way and that way about what's happening in Israel, but I am intrigued to see Gantz and see different guys, their stance they're taking, even with the Lebanon with the oil and gas. This was weird. It looks like Lebanon gets 100% of the gas and Israel gets 0. So as horrible as some of those situations are, what's going on with Russia is probably even more dramatic. You had Russia, you saw it this last week, they annexed 4 different locations in the Ukraine and threatened nuclear war, tactical nuclear war in the Ukraine and with the West. Now, what's even crazier about that is there were satellite images that they released showing Russia's nuclear arsenal being moved from place to place in position to get ready to fire on the nations. I mean, when they said it's not a veiled threat, it's pretty weird to see them backing up with the movement of their nuclear stuff. This was a big deal. The New York Times reported it. The Jerusalem Post reported it. Many things ratcheting up like that, to the point that in Kiev in the Ukraine, they're passing, actually they pronounce it Kiev, they're passing out potassium iron pills for radiation exposure. So when you got people getting those pills all over the nation, they're getting ready for this. It's absolutely nuts. In conjunction with that, I mean, you had North Korea fire missiles off the last couple of days. So now Japan and the United States is having military drills right over by North Korea because Russia, along with what I just said about Russia, they basically unloaded their submarine that carries this doomsday Poseidon torpedo. It's hard to even call it a torpedo. They call it an unmanned underwater vehicle because it's carrying massive loads of nuclear weapons. Now they are designed to have 12 of them to park off the east coast of America and at one time fire 12 of these missiles that could produce tsunamis into the coastal cities of America. The problem is the atomic weapons that are in them are hundreds of times stronger and larger than what was dropped in Japan. Along with that, these underwater unmanned vehicles will go 60 some miles an hour, and they can travel up to almost 7,000 miles. So Russia could park them almost in the middle of the Atlantic and fire them toward America. So with that undocking the last couple of days, they verbalize they're in position and they're ready. So I mean, along with this, you've got literally the setup for the Ezekiel 38 war. Why do we get into those aspects of it? Because you see Russia doing exactly what the Bible said they would do. I mean, in the midst of that, you had 4 asteroids fly by on Yom Kippur. The rabbi said normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but this is the first year ever in 80 years that not just localized war looks like it's going to break out, world war looks like it's going to break out. That's because it's a setup for the Ezekiel 38 war. So, man, you have the heavens getting us ready for it. I said it last week. You had Jupiter come the closest that it's come in 59 years to the Earth. Remember, he's the king, Jupiter's a king planet. The king is near. Wow. So many more things happening with the undercurrent of stuff with Lebanon. And Lebanon had a run on their banks the last couple of days. You watch. France will probably come in. Macron will probably come in and go, I'm going to save the day. You're watching people do things that are setups for the Antichrist. So super exciting for us in the church. He said, remember, lift up your heads. Your redemption is drawing nigh. So we're so blessed and so privileged to get to view these things. And I was really surprised that Israel hasn't done one airstrike on Syria this last week. This is like the first week they haven't had to do that. So, man, you're watching it all unfold right before your eyes. So what do? We help our local church, help our local pastor. This is it. Jesus is about to come. We always go back to the signs in the Bible because they're flawless. Israel made a nation. Jerusalem won back. Hebrew language restored. Ethiopian Jews brought back. Fertility of the land of Israel. The revival of the Roman Empire. Then you have 172 different species of predatory birds. Amazing. You have fish showing up in the Dead Sea. You had the Dead Sea turn blood red, where Sodom and Gomorrah were, on the Day of Atonement. So you have all this stuff. Foxes on the Temple Mount. Ritual baths around the temple filling up with water, first time in 2,000 years. You had Russia build the arch for Baal worship in Palmyra. The Talmud says that's the last thing you'll see before the Messiah comes. There were 4 or 5 things that the Talmud said this last week that were exactly what was happening, and it said this is when the Messiah is coming. So they got the oil of anointing out. They got the 5 red heifers that showed up. They got all this stuff ready. It's hard to go into all of it. You have men will be lovers themselves, selfie sticks. So sign after sign after sign after sign after sign, showing us how close we are so that we pick up the pace and accelerate. Man, it's exciting. The last lap of a race is the most exciting lap. You give it your all. So we have signs, tons of signs, about 70 some odd signs in our book. And then you go from there till you have signals. You had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. Oh, I forgot to do this. And you have not just blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. You got the Bethlehem star. I mean, the blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles is radical, but that's called a tetrad, 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles. The last time that happened was 1967. When Jerusalem was won back, 1948 when Israel was made a nation, and 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. Pretty amazing. Then you have the Bethlehem star. I love that because you have Jupiter, Regulus, Venus come together. Regulus, regal, king planet. Jupiter, king planet. Remember, Macron said he wanted his reign to be a Jupiterian reign, a king reign. So you have Regulus do retrograde motion. Looks like it's going backwards, but it's retrograde motion, and it's crowning Jupiter because the king was born. Wow. What was the constellation? Virgo. This last year, NBC Nightly News, we have a celestial event. Jupiter, Regulus, Venus come together. What was that? The Bethlehem star. What was the constellation? Leo. He's the lion of the tribe of Judah. Wow, we have these new stickers. I don't have them out of the package yet. Coming soon, Jesus of Nazareth. Wow, why is that a big deal? That's the only photograph I know of. That photograph was taken in Java, Indonesia at T.L. Osborne's crusade. A Buddhist photographer went there to disprove him, took a picture of the crowd, and there was a picture of Jesus in the clouds. Pretty cool. So we have those stickers available. Go to josephmorris.com. You can get them for $3 each. I love it's the only photograph that we have known of Jesus. I did put this on a t-shirt, but people couldn't tell what it was, so I think they can tell better with the sticker. So, man, this is it. What do? Help your local church, help your local pastor. The king is coming. Man, have a blessed week. We'll come back this next week and see, hopefully, what the world and the UN has said about tempering Russia, because they're doing exactly what the Bible said they'd do. So that means we're about to see Jesus come so soon. Have a blessed, wonderful week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the edu at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.